We might be drunk, we might be drunk, as long as we are hanging out, you know we might be drunk. Raise a glass, let's talk shit, pet peeves, Rex, and a bit, maybe drunk. We might be drunk, yeah.
Welcome to the Comedians inspired by Jerry Seinfeld and Dave Attell. I'm your co-host.
Wait, which one's which?
Jim Gaffigan. I don't know. Comedy. Anyway, the more robotic is more like Seinfeld, and then the self-loathing that is it's going to be really interesting to see what you guys look like when you grow up. Because you're at this point. Jim, should I let you guys talk?
I'm 38, so it's not like I'm
You don't
young...
look a day over 37.
I'll take it.
No, but
Black don't crack.
there is going to be a point where in your comedy generation, take it, I'm 74. And there's going to be a point where you
don't look
guys
a day
go
over
off
73.
the rails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
it's not YouTube, but maybe it's someone where you're like, that guy or that gal was completely normal and now they're bonkers.
Oh, yeah. There's
Right?
a lot of that now.
COVID revealed a lot of that, as you
Yeah.
said in your special, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of crazy out there.
Yeah, then it's getting wackier. I think the social media, the staying at home and just reading horrible shit all day, it changes a person.
Yeah. It's crazy. Anyway, that's the episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should introduce the show.
One of
And
our
the
favorite
guest.
comics. Thank you for coming straight from The View, Jim Gaffigan.
I'm coming. Well, I went to the View, then I got my booster,
Wow.
which I mean, obviously, it's all fake anyway. But no, I got my booster, so they were like, "Can you hang here for 15 minutes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so then I just left because you know why?
That's,
because I don't pay attention to rules.
Hell yeah, you're a
And then
rebel.
I fainted in the cab and I was raped, which was really bad.
So I got to go Uber.
So what are you guys drinking, and what are you trying to make up for?
Lost
so
time.
much. Drinking Lagavulin, peaty, nice scotch. It's a special scotch. Seinfeld does a special car for a special guest. We do the same thing with alcohol.
Oh, you do
Yes.
a different drink?
Oh, we've
Yes.
had Mai Tai, eggnog, bourbon, you name it.
every
And
week.
so how do you decide? Like, do you guys know about booze? You know about different boozes?
We know a little and how much to have.
There's a little bit of an old soul in both of you guys.
You too, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
I
he's
think
just old.
Even when
I am old.
no,
No
but when you
soul
were
either.
young
4
too.
years
When
old.
you were young, I mean, you're like
Yeah, I
you're
was
a
an
pure
old
joke
man.
guy. I
Yeah.
remember your first half hour on Comedy Central,
Yeah.
and I was like, "This is a joke guy."
Huge.
Yeah.
Now, I heard something weird about you, and tell me if I'm wrong. You wanted to
Up the butt.
be...
Love it.
You
What?
wanted to be a Tellish, and then you end up
Yes.
being Reganish. And then Geraldo
Yes.
wanted to be Reganish,
Yes.
and wanted a Tellish.
You and like how you guys are lovers. Geraldo and I were lovers.
Ah.
And you have these comedy kind of, and I know that there's other people in your group, so I
Sure.
don't want to alienate them. But Geraldo really wanted to be like Regan, and I really wanted to be like Attell. And there was kind of this shift that occurred, and he ended up doing the roasts and some of it is like you find different levels of authenticity, right? And it depends how it changes and how your heart's broken.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bill Burr was clean as a whistle in the beginning.
Was he?
Billy Burr, yeah. He was a
Well,
clean,
I
redheaded...
knew him as Billy Burr,
There
which
you
is
go.
really interesting. Like, there was something of like, I don't know if you've known anyone that's kind of like had a gender change, like where you're like, now they're they, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so like Billy
Elliot
to
Page is
Bill
next.
was a little bit of that.
Oh, really?
It was like I had to catch myself out of respect, you know what I mean? But
Right.
now he's this massive powerhouse.
Huge, yeah. He totally found himself.
Yeah.
But now he's going through all this therapy, and he's taking shrooms. Everybody's finding themselves and changing.
I
We're
feel
all
like
evolving.
every comic seems to be in therapy right now.
Oh, yeah.
But haven't they all? You know what's weird is like you guys are drinking. I feel as though
this is therapy.
there was less drinkers. I mean, there was always like a tell.
You always hear about the Coke and the hotels and the hookers.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about like I'm not talking about like way back. I'm talking about because in my generation or whatever, like like Geraldo and I would get wasted, but like, and Attell would drink, but like Louis didn't drink,
Right.
Todd Berry, you know, like I'm not saying they
point.
didn't drink at all. Kevin Brennan, Mark Maron, and it was, or it just wasn't in the open. Like the
Right.
weird thing is like, in this, what we do, you're performing in a bar.
Yeah.
Essentially, whether it's a club or not, and you're like, this is a sweet setup for after the show. I don't know if it's still like that in clubs where you're like, show's over, you got free booze here, let's hang out, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why I became a comic. I was
Yeah.
like 18. I was like, free bar.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
No one's
And
IDing me.
Yeah.
we got paid and drink tickets.
Yeah.
It was just pushing the addiction. But now every comic's like yogaing, therapying, kaling. You know, it's all about like Neil Brennan goes on these retreats where he finds his dad or whatever. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's
Pretty interesting. Well, it's this journey, right? We're always, it's like, but for comedians, we're just looking for material. Do you know what I mean? It's like, maybe that inner child has some jokes I could use.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
But
why I'm
you-
having kids.
You're like, I mean, we're obviously inspired by, you say like Seinfeld and Attell, but we're inspired by guys like you too, because you're so observational. Like you'll put, I just watched your new special. It's hilarious.
Oh, thanks.
But I'm like, how many minutes did he have on bikers that was untouched? Like, how the fuck did he hit that?
I know you're going to run out of stuff. You milk the shit out of everything.
Oh, well, thank you. It's like, but as you guys know, you feel like, you're like, well, that might be it.
Yes.
And then there is, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Right.
Is that even the quote? I
think you
kind of
got it.
sounded
It sounds
smart.
good. I
I
think
kind of
you got
sounded
it.
smart. Who's the smartest here? Is it,
I
or
think it's
one
you.
of you is like a closet smart person?
Not me.
Not you? Maybe. Wait a minute. You grew up in
think
New
you're-
York City.
You're a reader. You're well read.
I'm
You're
not- yeah,
Jewish.
but I say a
We
lot of
always defer to the Jewish person. He's Jewish. He's smart.
Yeah.
It's like
not
the
me.
gay person being creative. All right,
Right.
we're just gonna have to say they're.
Yeah, the black guy's athletic. The Jews are. You got an accounting degree, I assume.
no.
Oh, okay.
That was. I
By
said
the
last.
way, that you sounded more anti-Semitic
Yeah,
than I did.
he said he
I
hated
thought
bagels.
you were
in the
Jewish.
last.
You're not Jewish.
I wish.
I think that like all comedians, because it has such a rich history in
Yeah.
the Borscht Belt, I think all Gentile comedians secretly want to be Jewish.
I think so too. Yeah,
know what
and
I mean?
us honkies, you at least have a little flavor, a little culture. You're on a farm.
You just think like it's my
I don't know,
eyebrows.
farm.
I
I
don't.
just look like I'm on a farm. But your family owns slaves.
That's true. Still,
They still own slaves.
I know.
So your family, you're from New Orleans.
Oh yeah, born and raised.
Your family manufactured Confederate statues, which I think is really
Still.
weird.
Yeah.
You
They-
guys suppressed poor white people too.
big time. Yeah,
And is your family from New Orleans, or you
Yeah.
guys carpetbaggers?
they're scallywags and turncoats. No, they're from there.
They're from there. Wow.
And Katrina came, and they won't leave. They just won't go away. So they're staying.
And are you Cajun? Are you like Theo Vaughn? Are you
No.
related to Theo? Are you Theo Vaughn's dad?
He's my brother. No,
His dad was 80.
that's
I
true.
remember
an old
that.
dad.
Yeah, I remember we had material about that.
Yeah, but New Orleans is not that weird. I mean, if you go, it's like a little city, but then you go 10 minutes outside of it, and you're in the Hootenanny. It's crazy.
Right.
It's toothless. It's camo. It's
But that's
duck
New
hunting.
York too. Go
That's
20,
a
go
good
20
point.
minutes outside the city,
Yeah.
and you're like, what the hell?
But Sam, you grew up in the city.
in the city.
Yeah.
The rough and tumble city. Did you go to Bronx Science or something
No,
like that?
we've talked about this Browning.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Browning. That's See, come on, that's smart.
That's smart. Rough and tumble. You grew up in Chelsea.
And then Upper East. Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that
Upper
amazing?
East.
It's like, I think it's amazing how like you have conversations. Have you ever had this with comedians where you're like, yeah, we drove to Pittsburgh. Do you remember that? And you're like, yeah, kind of like you should remember an 8-hour
8-hour
drive.
car ride. And you had a great conversation. You did a show. You had a meal. You got drunk, drove back, and you don't remember any of it.
All right, what's your favorite city to perform in?
I mean, I love.
It also depends on the club. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Comedy on State because of that.
Yeah.
That club is just.
And you love the owner's daughters. You very inappropriate. You wanted to get all Chris Noth on them. But, Chris Noth is a friend of mine. I don't know what to say.
Peloton.
yeah, that was.
It's tough.
What?
handsome
So
man.
that's a great club. Yeah, I performed there. That's a great club.
That's
Great
classic.
room.
I mean,
Great little town too. Madison's underrated.
and city is big. Chicago is just always awesome.
Acme in Minneapolis is
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
How's the DC Improv? The DC Improv was my favorite club.
I've never done a
great
weekend
room.
there. Have
What?
you? Really? Have you?
Yeah, great room. Low ceiling, tight. I love a club in the heart of the city, like
Yeah.
Philly Helium, right
Yeah.
there in the city. I hate when I just did the Milwaukee Improv. Shout out. Great club.
Milwaukee has an improv.
Just
No.
open
Oh,
in
wow.
August. And it's a good club. Staff was
is
great.
it in the 3rd Ward or where is it?
Oh, you wish. It is in the 15th Ward. It is out by, I was in
Appleton.
Kenosha. I opened for Rittenhouse. It's wild.
He killed.
But it's way out there.
What you did those clubs are like? You've been a road guy for like how many years?
you 40, 50 years. Me and Joey Diaz are out there. No, I did a lot of road stuff. Actually, initially, when people were doing road gigs around, I only stayed in the city, but I didn't really get sets. So it was kind of I would do Gladys's Comedy Club.
Whoa. never
I
heard-
would
Where's
do
that?
That was at Hamburger Harry's.
Where's that?
That was on 45th Street.
Wow.
Damn.
And then where else did I perform? Gotham was the place that really let me go on.
The
And
21st Street Gotham.
Yes.
That was a cool room.
that was a cool room.
That felt like comedy in there.
But I didn't really start touring until I middled for Attell, like when he would do the DC Improv, and the DC Improv, and I'm sure it's still a great club. Was a great club. It was like the wait staff was cool, and it was just I feel like DC is one of those cities where people are overeducated,
right.
and underpaid. So
Yeah.
they're like, we can't do anything but go to a comedy show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, great town. Opening for Attell.
Yeah.
He was drinking, I assume.
He was, but the weird thing is I used to the Attell, this is kind of goes back to what I said. It's like there's these aspects of these comedians that is it more mystique than anything. Do you want to hear my larger theory? Is that comedians are all an identity crisis, every single one of us. So in other words, some of it is who we're told who we are
Yes.
by the audience and by other comedians. It's just how we come across. Like I come across as very handsome. No, I come across as very white bread, right?
Right.
Very Midwestern. But the reality is, I grew up middle class. I went to college, but that's not to say that I'm not, like the white trash stuff. It isn't far from me. You know what I mean? It's like it is part of who I am. I did collect beer cans as a kid.
Right.
So, but the thing about Attell is that the Attell I knew, and not that you ever really know comedians, except for you guys have made love, that you never really know comedians that well, but Attell was this workhorse.
Oh, yeah.
He was, he might have a beer to unwind, but he was not like shit-faced every night.
And he's a cute Jewish guy from Long Island.
Yeah,
But he
and
comes
so
off as this gruff, kind of blue-collar.
Yeah, but he was so he was like this brilliant Jewish kid from Great Neck or wherever. It's like but like the kind of like the Bowery Boy thing was, I felt like it was, and I used to give him shit. I'm like, you're like this smart kid from Long Island. And he was like, you're just being nice.
Right, right.
But he became that in a way. Do you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
also, I didn't, obviously he did struggle with drinking, and obviously he smokes too much and stuff like that. But so I'm simplifying it, and I don't know all the details, but it was.
Well, you got to have a thing as a
when we were
comedian.
in DC, yeah, like he would go out for a drink, but he was like the Attell I knew was like he'd go, and even when he was writing things on at Comedy Central, I would be like, I'll help you out, I'll just hang around, and he was very kind of he would never stay in a place. Like he'd go to a bar, he'd be like, you want a beer? And I'm like, sure. And then he'd be like, I'm gonna go. And you
Right.
didn't know it wasn't like he was being rude.
He's like a bodega cat. You kind of he's kind of here and then he's gone. You know.
Yes.
But like I think one of the best comedic minds, but also a really sweet guy.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
We love him.
He was not like, like, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him walk by a homeless person and not
Yes.
give money.
And there are a lot of them in the West
Yes.
Village.
Yeah.
He is the only person still carrying cash in the West Village.
Yeah, he pulls out a wad. I've also never seen him eat. Have you seen him eat?
Once, because I used to do the road with him a decent amount. I remember we pulled over driving back, and I saw him take like a sausage biscuit out of a gas station and take a big bite. And I was like, man.
I've never seen him eat. That's so funny.
Have you?
You've seen, we went to Keens with him that time. You've seen him eat. He had a burger. You've seen him eat.
I don't know if
it's
he ate
rarely.
it. I think he put it in his pocket and left.
But you guys know, and I don't know if you guys, but like Attell, there was a time when he would have, I'm not kidding, a new 20 minutes every night.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
Every night. And he would just, like, I remember the second time. So there was, back when Letterman was a big to-do. Mm-hmm. And obviously, there's and I call them classes, but generations, like the class right above me and Geraldo, and I'm trying to think of who else would be in there. Ian Bagg, Bonnie McFarlane. They were just like, they would decimate. And there were these people but they were the new comics getting all the spots, or getting the spots when someone would go out of town. But like, the reason I bring that up, let me see if I can remember, is that, but he would have this new material every night. So when he did Letterman, it was a big thing. Like, I think that Todd Barry was the first one to do Letterman.
Really?
It ended up just working out that way. So all these guys were great. Barry, Marin, Kevin Brennan, they were all like of that same, and Louis. And so, but like Attell was the one that there was a New York Times article that identified him as the new Mel Brooks.
Whoa.
He was on this 30 under 30 artist list in the New York Times. And there wasn't this, like the journalism that is focused on comedy. Obviously, we know it's a bigger deal in the UK, the journalism on comedy thing. But like, there was no journalism on comedy. So the New York Times and the New Yorker, every 2 years would send someone out to follow a couple comedians. And they would, it would depend who they followed. So sometimes they would follow Attell or Sarah Silverman, and sometimes they would follow someone who really wasn't in the scene. So like, like when you read a review or an article about a comedian, you're like, this person doesn't know comedy.
Yes.
They're not even scraping the surface of what an audience responds to this comedian.
No, they'll follow someone who's like an it kid or something, but they're not doing the work.
Right.
Or they'll even kind of,
or an actor.
They're kind of, they're just like, oh, this is just somebody who peddles in tabloid stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
now you could argue there's too much comedy journalism. Like, hey, relax, we got it.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Have you guys performed in the UK? Because the UK, it's kind of part of the fabric. Reviews and
they say that Edinburgh, the reviews are what get you seats.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like the UK, and obviously this changes all the time, and I'm sure even in your time doing stand-up, it's changed. You're like, wow, can you believe this club that used to be up here is now down here?
Stand Up New York.
It's or like
comic strip,
or just
well, comic strip is where I started, so it is weird, like, to see it kind of do this, I mean,
and it moves also with the management of the club, and also like how that club is run. Like, if it's not a true showcase, if there's also just geography of where people live, it can change. But
you even have that with HBO. Remember, with HBO is the top tier. You couldn't get any higher than HBO special.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying HBO is nothing, but it doesn't feel like the most eyeballs are there for comedy.
And by the way, I remember, like, you know, HBO was definitely the most prestigious thing, but I remember, I mean, I was very fortunate because Beyond the Pale,
That was Comedy Central, right?
that was Comedy Central, and that was during this period where dorm rooms. So, like, when I went to college, there was maybe something in the common area that had cable, but MTV was on.
Yeah.
But during the time Beyond the Pale premiered, that's when everyone had a TV in their room. Everyone had Comedy Central on 24 hours a day. And so, like, people were kind of, forced to be exposed to it.
Right.
Whereas now, I mean, I don't, it's like, look, as a comedian, you want to be on Comedy Central. You want to, but it doesn't have the weight that it did.
God,
do you know what I mean? Like,
Dane
there's
Cook, all these Swartz and all these guys.
the weight of a YouTube special. You two guys did the YouTube specials that, like, there is that independence there.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to navigate your own path, and in some ways it's shifting. So, like, even if someone asked you, like, hey, that YouTube special, how'd you do that? What'd you do? It's like, even in the year, it's probably shifted where you might be like, you know what? Now I would do this or that, or you're going to get some money here, or you're going to have to, and you've got your Netflix special. So it's like, it's this shifting thing, but that's kind of, I mean, I'm glad to be back with Netflix. I'm dying to see how the numbers do, because you don't know.
You don't know. It's a gamble. I only got the Netflix because of the YouTube success. So then you're like, well, maybe I should just stay with YouTube. So it's this weird juggling act of, you're like, I don't know what's more beneficial for my career.
It's
a lot of people I really respect. I remember when I did the YouTube special, I talked to people who, I really respect, who are like, you're an idiot if you do this. Like, you're dumb.
Same.
Who are like, you can't ever give it away for free.
Yeah.
So that was, but then also it's like, what is a special but kind of a trailer for yourself on the road, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, I'm done with the material. No one really made an offer. This is kind of what you do, I think. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this because I want to write new jokes, So I think YouTube has been. It's the number one competitor to Netflix, which is incredible. It's like, it's not Amazon, it's not HBO, for comedy at least.
It's so interesting because I had done a couple Comedy Central specials, and you're also you want to like, people think, oh yeah, it's money. It's never money. It's about eyeballs,
yes.
right? And the thing is that the thing about like, being new also is you only get to be new for a little bit.
You got that right.
Like, by the way, that's a scary reality where, oh yeah, that's right, they only want to write articles about discovery. They don't want, I mean, unless you really kind of, I mean, I've never been a tabloid guy anyway, unless you do something outlandish or you're,
that'd be great for your next run. You just start doing Russell Crowe level tabloid shit.
No, just like, I'm just attacking some subset group, and I'm like, you can't deal with it. But
Jim Gaffigan's edgy trans chunk, where you just
but it's like, it's weird how it's always shifting, and that's the business side of it.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily. Again, it's not about finance. It's about creating opportunities so that you can continue to do it.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, you guys did the, you don't even need to tell me. You did the YouTube thing so that you could get asses in seats at clubs, so that those people could be like, you know what, I saw this. They can easily share it. There is no paywall. I mean, by the way, when I did Amazon, and that's why I'm so excited to go back to Netflix, because when my last Netflix special was when they were releasing one every week. And sometimes twice a week.
It's a lot.
And it would appear and it would disappear. And so you could get some bump, but like also you wouldn't get the impact. Like, you know, like I remember, like I love Nate Bargatze, but I was like, that bastard. It's like his special came out in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
There was not much stuff out there. So there's a lot of value in when things land.
Yes,
like Aziz, it's like even Aziz's special, it was brilliant because he was the first one that they owned, so they had an interest in promoting it. So it was like, you know, so there's
So
that's
many
the other thing.
factors. There's some people think it's like one thing or another. It's luck is such a big part of it. It's not just putting out a good
it's
special.
the strangeness of timing.
Yeah.
It's like our business is all about timing, but then there's a lot of timing you don't have control over.
Yes, but sometimes it's bittersweet because some people put a YouTube out too quick. It's like you said, you can only be young and new once. So some people are like, oh, I can put out a YouTube special or an album, and they just do it. And you're like, you could have waited 5 years. You'd be better off, but it's too enticing.
Exactly. The demand for content has hurt quality for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird because there is something. I mean, I've changed, and this is like such classic comedy nerd talk that like we would talk about if we were just hanging out anyway.
I love it.
Is that, and you know, by the way, Seinfeld is like, thinks I'm crazy, is that, you know, how long does it take to bake an hour, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
He's nuts
but
about
you
this.
know, the English or the British or the Irish and the Australians, they do an hour a year.
Yeah.
Now I think that's inherently wrong,
Agreed.
but
They all stink. I don't know what they all stink, but, you know,
I don't
I'm just
know. You
saying,
know, it's like, by the way,
it's
like
a bit much.
Look, whether you liked it or not, and I don't want to get down the rabbit hole of Hannah Gatsby, that special that popped
Nanette.
was her 9th.
Is that right?
And I'm like, so she did 9. And by the way, whether you know,
Wow, I didn't know
whether
that.
you think it's a artistic piece or super funny, super important from a socio standpoint, that was a pretty complete piece for her, let's say 8th or 9th. And so, like, there is something of like, are we putting, and I'm saying this to two guys that can write, like to the people that can't write, I'm like, that's got to be frustrating. But like, you know, we're also workhorses, right?
Yeah.
We are kind of the Attell kind of like grind it out. The joke is the hero. The facilitator is not as important as the material. You know what I mean? And so
I just don't get how other people do it. They go, hey, you're one of those joke guys. I'm like, what else are we doing here? I'm a comedian. Like, it has to be jokes, and
It's
you
like
have to
telling
have
a
a million of
director,
them.
you're in the scenes.
Yeah, right. I don't get it. Like, what else? This is what it is.
You sing songs. That's what you. Yeah, I'm a singer. So you just sing. Well, the thing is I think that I sometimes wonder about that too. Is that
You can do stories, but they have to have jokes in them.
you have to have jokes.
Yes.
and some of it is it's all self-assignment, and we are always trying to evolve. You know, like when I look at like some of these fitness inspirational guys, it's like I wish there were people like that just talking about comedy. Like, you got to come up with another fucking hour. You got to do it. You got to challenge yourself. You got to wake up. You got to go, I'm gonna freak myself out. I'm gonna say something embarrassing. You got to go up there. You got to embarrass yourself, because that's the only way you're gonna grow. You're gonna sit there and do food jokes for 10 years. Do that, then you'll be a fat fucking ass.
Yeah.
You got to get out there and you got to prove yourself.
I dare you to do an act out. Do an act out tonight.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do it.
We Might Be Drunk is brought to you by Sheath Underwear. Whether you're worried about having your dick stuck to your balls or your balls stuck to your dick or your legs stuck to your dick, it's time to get Sheath. Let me see. Are you You're not wearing it, Mark.
Jeez. Is this not sheath? Whoops.
Oop.
Take it again.
This
Sorry.
is Sheath, motherfucker.
There it is.
Get some.
Sorry, Robert.
Sheath is great. I really like this underwear. I
yeah.
wear it constantly, and I'll tell you, my girlfriend is like, I love that underwear, and I'm like, guess what? It's fucking Sheath. So get some.
Hell yeah.
Keeps your balls off your leg. 2 patches, one for your dick, one for your balls. Nothing sticks. The patterns are solid. Stretchy fabric. Yeah, you don't feel confined. There's nothing worse than like underwear where there's no out for your dick.
Yeah.
The over the hump, and you're like, what am I pissing over a fucking brick? Like, it's terrible.
It's so true.
Sheath isn't just for men. There's lady drunks out there too. They got sports bras, bikini briefs, and boy shorts. I got to be honest, I don't know about this stuff for women because I'm a guy. I bet it's great because the guy stuff is killer.
Oh, yeah.
Loving it. Mark, tell them what to do.
By the way, my lady loves the bras. So go to sheathunderwear.com and use code DRUNK to get 20% off your first order. Plus, Sheath's underwear 100% money back guarantee. That's sheathunderwear.com, promo code DRUNK. Get Sheath underwear and let them support your balls, baby. Love you, Sheath. Get on it.
Support the show. Get 20% off free shipping with the code DRUNK at sheathunderwear.com.
Thank you. We Might Be Drunk is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. We've talked about BetterHelp on this show before, and this month we're discussing some of the stigmas around mental health. First off, you're not a crazy person. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. Talking to a therapist is a positive way to process your life. Look, we do therapy. You got me in. It's necessary. It's helpful. People go to the gym. People eat right. What about your mind? What about your emotions? What about your mental state? We all have trauma. We're all fucked up. We're all weirdos. Gotta get on it. Just like going to the gym or the dentist, we should be caring for our mental health as much as our physical health. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even online or live chat sessions with your therapist so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try. See why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp online therapy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and you get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/drunk. That's BetterHelp.com/drunk, and check out BetterHelp's new podcast, Getting Better. Wow, stories of mental health. Hear Meghan Trainor open up about motherhood, or how NBA Hall of Famer Chris Bosh tames anxiety.
One of my favorites. Love Chris Bosh.
There you go. Find Getting Better on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Support the show and get 10% off your first month of online therapy. BetterHelp.com/drunk. Get on it.
I always see you act like I'd see you even back in the day. You'd work like small rooms, and I'm really not blowing you here, but like you would, I would never see it weak. Really, I was curious.
It's a good point.
Where do you work out? Where's your like your open mic? Because I would see you at bars. I'd be like, this new stuff is already polished.
Well,
Yeah.
that's very nice, but yeah, there's
That's all the wife.
no,
That's the good stuff.
it's some of it is like I've been doing it for 70 years, but some of it is
But you can never know 100% what's going to kill.
Yeah, you never know. But like that's also, it's the risk and the reward, right? It's like that crypto ad, it's like it's like
That's
that
the fun
people are
part.
so angry about. But like I do think there is, I don't know. I mean, because sometimes it's like also, I think you guys would agree, your writing has shifted completely. Like you bring up my wife, it's like there was a good 5 or 6 years where my wife and we were writing together regularly. I mean, we didn't have 5 kids or 5 kids in 3 different schools at the time. So it's like you shift, and it's like I didn't write on stage at that point. And, like writing on stage, doing longer sets is really helpful. So like during the pandemic, I didn't really write that much. I wish I would have. But so when I'm doing longer sets, and I also would say that when I tour and, during the day, I'm not sitting there going, let's meet for coffee. I'm not doing that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, first of all, I'm tired because I've eaten a steak at 1 a.m. But I'm listening and kind of like, that's my writing time, because when I'm home, I don't really have that much
Same.
time.
The road. I get a lot done on
Right?
the road. Hotel rooms.
love it.
I'm a
I
mad
love-
I
scientist.
love the road.
Yeah.
Love the road.
It's weird. People are
It's
like,
just getting there.
That's it. And getting back.
Yeah, but there's something about the piece of the road and that you're kind of like, my life's back in New York. That's on hold. This is all work. And, and I bring like Gary Veeder usually. So I have a guy just with me who wants to work on jokes, and we can just bounce bits at lunch. We can go to our room, and I love the road.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the St. Louis Arch. I'm writing today.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I mean, there is like, it's good to expose yourself to things, but it's also, you know, there is that strange period where you're wasting time when you're writing that you have to put in.
Yeah.
You have to sit there. Like, it would be embarrassing to explain how long it took to come up with a tag.
I know. I heard Gary Gulman once say, "You build a special one sentence at a time," and it's so true, because you'll do a 5-day road stint, and you're like, "I got that one line," and then you're happy with it. You know, you're like, "That worked. That was progress."
It's weird, and when there's a bad audience, I always think it's so weird or you're just not. It's just not working, and then a line just comes out and you're like, wow.
Yes.
Never thought I'd get this line from you fucking people.
But it took their shittiness to bring it out of you.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's weird how a good crowd can do the same, because they're with you so hard. You're like, I'll throw in another line. Let's see.
Well, I think that's also a big advantage is the familiarity an audience has with your sensibility.
Huge.
Increases the intimacy. So therefore, it's a safer bet. Like, I even think, like, do you remember when, like, Michelle Wolf got so much shit for that White House Correspondents thing? Like, I think that was a classic example of people didn't know her.
Right.
So, like, if they knew her, I mean, they couldn't look at it as a comedian. Like, as a comedian, we're like, great writing, great performing, nailed it.
Yep.
But, like, to these people, they're like, who is this person? That where if it was Jeff Ross, they'd be like, oh, it's the roast master.
Good point.
Do you know what I mean? Or if it was Kathy Griffin, they'd be like, it's Kathy Griffin. She's a reverend.
Right.
But
you're
because
right. That's
it
what
was
broke her. It's like, that's a hard place to get your kind of discovery from a lot of people. You're
Yeah.
totally right.
It's the unfamiliarity. So when you do perform, you know, in a city that you've been, like whether it be Chicago and you have a familiarity, they're like, yeah, let's have some fun. Let's see what he's come up with lately.
Yeah.
You know?
It is weird when people don't make the connection. Like, I did the joke earlier about, I'm for Rittenhouse. And people were like, you did? And you're like, what are you, fucking nuts? I'm joking. But they don't know you, so they don't know.
Right.
Norm was the king of that. He would go to the ESPYs or he did the correspondent, whatever, and the crowd's like, what the fuck is this? This guy drunk? Is he psycho? But the crowd at home is like, this is amazing.
Right.
Because we know him.
Yeah.
When you were doing the first new hours, you did the half hour, but then you're on the road headlining, and I know you have fans because that half hour was when Comedy Central actually, like, people would watch it.
Yeah.
But you didn't have the fans you have now, so that next hour, was that what made you be like, oh, I got to flush all this?
Well, there's also, like you either get too much respect or none, right? There's no in between.
Right.
You're either like, oh, I don't know if I should be invited to this, or you're like, no, I can come in and watch. I'm a comedian. I can watch another comedian. And they're like, I don't know who the fuck you are.
Yes.
And so I would say, so after my half hour at Comedy Central, which I did the same night as Geraldo.
Hey, there you go.
Were you on the same crowd?
I think we're on the same crowd. No, he did a earlier show. I did the later show. But I wonder if it was the same crowd. I mean, obviously you guys met him, but like he had this likability thing.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, he got me into clubs on Long Island. Like they'd be like, who's this guy? And they're like, he's my friend. I'm like, I don't know how to talk to people. And, but so he did like 4 half hours because he was in development with Comedy Central. And I was like, I want to do a second one. They're like, nah, that's all right. And like what they told me is that my half hour was doing well enough. Oh, talk about broken logic. I was told, they're like, yeah, we don't need it. Enough people are watching your old one. We don't need another one. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, now we'll air The Office for 48 straight hours every 2 days.
But this was back when they used to just, like Comedy Central used to like if you had a special on there, they would air it 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 times a day.
Oh, I
So
remember
it would
you
be,
talking about those college kids. That was one of them. So I mean,
Yeah.
like that's where I discovered
like
you. It's where I
2
discovered
a.m..
Hedberg.
Like people just getting exposed, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And not just seeing it once, seeing it twice.
Right.
And so, so I was trying to get another half hour, and they were like, no, thanks, we're all right. And there was no other bets, and like HBO. So then I only got the hour because my manager at the time was partners with a guy that had been in Ron White's manager, who was part of the blue collar thing. So they were buying these blue collar, specials.
Was that Murray? McMurray?
No, Alex Murray's my manager,
Oh, okay.
but McDonald.
McDonald, that was it.
And so he essentially got me my special. I mean, I got like no money or anything, but it was just to get the hour. So
Which one was that?
The
Which
Beyond
special?
the Pale.
Oh,
wow.
game changer.
But so like I do think that even the fact that I had and that's similar to Letterman. Like I was the last of my generation to do a late night show back when they were really important, and like I just couldn't get
That was
one.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the last of my friend group. I mean, everyone
Right.
had been on it but me, and I remember being like, "Am I fucking like this is killing me?"
Am I crazy?
Yeah.
But once you got it, you were ready.
Once
Right.
I got it, I hate. First time I did Conan, I look back, I still like the jokes. I hated the crowd. It was tough to wait that long to get on, and my second one was to this day the best late night set I've ever had. But
That's the thing about those late nights is the crowd is everything, and I feel like Letterman always was hot.
Letterman
there was
was
no bad
always
Letterman.
an amazing because that was
Conan was a gamble.
it was a because that was a tourist destination. People would
Right.
get tickets
I went.
and would go to New York City because they got Letterman tickets. So that was the show. They were
Yeah.
just like, they just wanted to be at the Ed Sullivan Theater. So it was like the easiest crowd in the world.
Yeah.
If anything, you had to stop applause breaks because
Yeah.
there's the applause. People would be like, I got 7 applause breaks. I'm like, I think we're going for laughs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's funny the juxtaposition of like you go from these grimy barroom, smoky rooms where you're getting heckled and bombing, and then you bring that same killer act to this easy peasy, shoe-in show, and you get to
Yeah.
be a star for 6 minutes.
It's weird because it used to be the people. I mean, now it sounds like I'm making this up, but like the people that would go to comedy clubs were not the same people that would go to the Letterman show.
Right, of course.
Now I think it's become much more like stand-up comedy's become more domesticated. I know
Yeah,
that sounds
yeah,
like bullshit, but
that's
it's
true.
like it used to be just kind of the weirdos. Like the
Yeah.
comedians, it's a middle-class occupation. Before
Totally.
it was like it was
Degenerates and,
Yeah.
and misfits. You're in a basement all night.
yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Talking about your dick or whatever.
Yeah.
the late night set. So first time you did Letterman, how did you get it?
I got it because I think I had God, I mean, it's like talk about like no respect and then too much respect. So I auditioned for Letterman and Conan the same night, and here's how I got Letterman. So they had this idea. This is back when it was like Eddie Brill wasn't there. It was and they had an idea. They wanted to do a premiere week. They would do a comedian every single night. So it had to be their network premiere. So because I had never been on a late night show, I had an advantage.
Right.
So all my friends who had done, I mean, like Ian Bagg had probably done Conan 10 times.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. And,
Damn.
Geraldo had done all the stuff, all these things. And so because I hadn't done it, they that helped me get it. And so I remember that week, who else was on? But that week, I think a lot of the comedians bombed. So a lot of the comedians didn't do that well. And because I feel like, I was so ridiculous. After a year, I was like, I should be on Letterman. You know what I mean? I should definitely be on Letterman. I'm better than that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't say that out loud, hopefully.
We all do that.
But, so...
It's shocking how long it takes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you see your progress like no one else does, but you're like, I'm doing this many sets a night, I'm killing, no one notices but me. So you start to feel like a crazy person.
Totally.
Well, you are a crazy person.
Yeah.
You know, it's such an insane pursuit. And you can't explain it to people. They're like, what are you doing? And I used to be like, I do this and I get paid. When I get paid, I get $8. They're like, what are you talking about?
The bills are crumpled up.
Right.
A guy hands it to me in a handshake.
Yeah.
He resents me for having to be paid.
Right. The cab ride is 10 to get there.
Yeah.
I have to chase someone down.
Yeah.
They're annoyed that they have to. Yeah. It's,
But we have the luxury of doing it now. Well, we've been doing it 15 years or whatever, but now comics can say I'm a comic at a dinner party and other people go, cool.
Yeah.
But back in your day, in the 40s, it was like, hey, what does that mean? What are you, Jack
You were
Benny?
definitely someone who is mentally ill. Well, you were, or the question was, have you been on the Tonight Show?
Yes, exactly.
And if you hadn't been on the Tonight Show, it was the equivalent of, saying that you had a novel that you wrote,
Right.
but you didn't have a publisher.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
insane.
Your first Letterman, did they tinker with the set a lot? Were they like, you can't say this, you can't say that? Did that happen? Because that happens with us a lot, but you're cleaner than us.
That happened later on.
Later, so once you were already established, they're messing with your set.
Isn't that weird? You think they trust you after a few sets?
That happened later on. And then they did trust. Well, it's like, you don't know what was going on there. But I do know that, Letterman would be like, what the hell was that guy saying? Do you know what I mean? Or if it was dealing with, the network criticism of filth.
Right.
I mean, that was like Letterman and Conan doing sets on there definitely made me, again, these were important shows like that you could sell tickets. Like people would, this is before Twitter. You know what I mean? It's like
crazy.
You would, so if you were on Letterman, you could sell out a show at the DC Improv.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Not all of them, but people would be like, he was on Letterman.
Yeah.
And so getting on Conan or Letterman, they would be like, well, you obviously can't say blowjob.
Sure.
You obviously can't say, you couldn't say crackhead.
Whoa.
So you'd be like, all right, so... again, you're like, all right. So, and what I realized is when there were curse words in there, the joke was just not written, not done.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. It's so weird. It's like this journey of there's there's some people that should curse. It's so part of their authenticity.
Good point.
Right?
Good point.
It's like, is Louis Black not supposed to curse? Is Chris Rock not supposed to curse? It's like, of course they should.
Yeah. And you don't see Chris Rock on late night.
Yeah.
Not doing a set.
Panel,
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
but it's different. Yeah.
I had to fight to get Boner on the Tonight Show.
Really?
And I fought, and it hit. And I remember the Roots laughed, and I remember going to the booker being like, you see, but Boner's a funnier word than erection.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be edgy. I was just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But I feel like now the late nights are getting really curated almost to death.
Oh, they are.
Oh,
it's worse now, and it's weird because it's like you guys have kind of lost your power. It's like when I work on a late night set now, I'm like, this is time I'm taking away because I'm still trying to workshop it and run it. And I'm like, I'm workshopping it for the lowest ratings you've ever had. And I could be working on my social media shit, which is doing better,
Way more views.
I mean, there is something about, it's like kind of like different. I'm sure you guys do this. It's like I would say this to Ted or Todd Glass.
Ted Alexandra.
Yeah.
Love Ted.
And we'll be like, yeah, the crowd was, and then we'd be like, but it's good. It's good to have that. It's good to have that because then it makes you, it kind of toughens you up.
Right.
For so like I do think that, or I used to think when I did those TV sets, it was kind of like a fine cleaning.
Yes,
of
I
these
agree.
jokes.
I agree with that.
A fine cleaning. But that being said, it's it might also put it to rest a little bit because once I would do it on Letterman or Conan, I wouldn't do it on TV again, and so
You would never put those jokes in the special.
I would put them in a special. I wouldn't put them on like, and again, none of these clips ended up on YouTube. It was just like occasionally on MySpace, someone would be like, he did the same joke on Letterman, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I got that for America's Got Talent. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to not get heckled by the judges, dude. I'm trying to not embarrass myself in front of 10 million people. I'll repeat a joke I did on, know, whatever.
Of course.
Yeah.
And those people, like Todd Barry has a great attitude on that. It's like those are like 3 people out of 5 million.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
But we cater to those psychos all the time.
Well, it is like, I do think that like people that are passionate about comedy they're the most important people, right? I mean, except for your peers, they're the ones that like
come out.
That also, you want to have that influence. It's kind of like when you do like when I used to tour and you do like a road gig and you bring it back to not even the city, but like to Brooklyn, to like some hipster room, and they'd be like, really? You're doing that joke? And you're like, oh shit, sorry. Do you know what I mean? Like you get lazy.
Yes.
Like it's really important. I haven't done this in a while, but like it's important to do
Different rooms. Yeah, you got to mix it up.
You always have done that, man. I remember seeing you at Cabin, all those bars, even back in the day.
Whiplash.
And I respect that. I was like, oh shit, he's trying to. I mean, we've talked about this before, but like you workshop it everywhere. You see where it's not hitting. You're like, well, maybe I can strengthen it so it hits here too. But I agree with you on the commenters, how they're important, but at the same time, I do think it's our nature to like, even when you're on stage, you see one person like this in the crowd, and I focus on them.
Same.
Like it is also in our blood to just be like, that motherfucker doesn't like me.
Yeah, completely. And you go, that's dad. To me, that's just like, oh, that's my father, pissed and not enjoying it.
But
So
there is something about the, but I do think that like you can get caught up in seeking, you're never going to get everyone. I feel like
that's true.
Kevin Brennan would obsess on people in the audience. He'd be like, what lady? What are you so upset? I'm like, dude, you were killing.
Not out loud. I'm saying in here.
Yeah,
I think
I know
once
what you're saying.
Once you start to obsess over them out loud, you're like, well, now you're ruining it for every other person that's happy to be there. You know?
No, and it's particularly in, in a comedy club environment where they're right around you. I mean, there's also something about, I'm totally a nerd about this, like where it's, there are environments that are far more interactive.
Yes.
Like the conversation, stand-up comedy is a conversation. And if you're on a stage like a Gotham, that's a stage. But if you're at the Cellar, you're like people at a union meeting have more authority than you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
the stage is this high.
You're barely off the ground. And that's not to say it's bad. It's just a different dynamic.
Yes.
So in other words, it's more effective for people that are doing shorter jokes, and also for people that are, like the Cellar. Again, I haven't been on that stage in 25 years, but like
I would do benefits. You would pop in.
I've done the Underground. I don't.
But you don't like the Cellar. It's not like
no. It's not. It's not that. It's that. It's like one of those things where, as you guys know, you have to protect yourself from like giving your power away.
Yes.
And so there came a time where I was sitting there and I was like, how many spots did I get at the Cellar? Oh, I only got that. Oh, I got this. And I would see my friends and I would be like, all right, you know what? I just want to develop material. I want to do it in different places. There is also like I knew that like I had done so much hanging out. I didn't want to do the hangout. I wanted to do my set and leave. And this is before I had kids. I was like, I want to do my set and leave. And so there was a culture there of hanging out, which by the way seems great. I'm not criticizing it at all. Do you know what I mean? But like the whole thing of like giving the power away, I didn't want to do that. And like playing the game.
That's healthy.
Whereas Geraldo was a master at it, you know. And that's not to say that people are kissing ass or anything like that. It's just like, I don't want to play that game. I want to do my stand-up and then get out of there.
Yeah.
You're more of an introvert. I don't think it's a power thing. You kind of just want to you're also, I look at your stuff as like, a lot of people that hang out aren't always, I mean, Greg was an incredible writer, but not everyone who does that is really focused on writing.
Good point.
You know?
He was the rare case.
A lot of people that are hanging out are kind of like the boisterous type, where they're kind of, you know, they're shitting on people, and that's hilarious and that's great.
Yeah.
But you're, I look at you as a very in your head type of like disciplined.
It's so weird,
writer.
you know, like Geraldo and I, like the fact that he ended up doing roast was like one of the biggest shocks.
Really? He was so great.
And
at it.
he was a master.
I think
at it.
he's the best ever at it.
He's the roast man.
And Jesse Joy, shout out for a lot of those
Yes.
jokes, who was an excellent roast writer.
Great
Yeah.
writer.
But like, it was one of those things where, again, it goes back to, you know, look, obviously roasting is an art form. It's obviously, people enjoy it. But if you look at it, it's put down humor.
Sure.
And now put down humor. Look, by the way, sarcasm is veiled hostility. All this shit, you can make it really nasty. But like, I remember I saw Seinfeld at the comic strip Christmas party, and that used to be a big deal.
Oh,
Like,
we used to go to that. Free booze, free food.
yeah. And like Ray Romano would do movies. I'm going to do a movie. And you'd be like, Ray Romano did a movie. And Seinfeld was like, I'm just here. He goes, you know, instead of doing stuff like this, I just work on my act. And it was just like, which is perfect, Jerry, because he is this
King of cuntiness.
absolutist.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so there is something, but like the practical side of roasting is it seems a little
Waste of timey.
maybe, or you know, not to, it's like, are you bringing light? You know, by the way, like Don Rickles, beloved by everyone, you know, he was the master at that too,
But he had an act.
but he was also bringing light. I don't know.
That's true.
There's
No,
a clip I just saw of Rickles, I believe, roasting Shirley MacLaine. She was old as hell in this clip. So was he. He must have been in his 80s. And he's roasting everyone in the room. And it's cool to see everyone like, get me, get me.
Yeah, right.
It's rare to see that now. Now it's gotten so vicious with the roasts that a part of it's like, fuck, what are they going to bring up? Like,
Yeah, it was a delicate touch. Bob Saget had this. Bob Saget is like, has an amazing relationship with everybody in the entertainment industry. And
he's the nicest person.
He's the nicest person.
He's a great guy.
At this benefit, he had Queen Latifah, you know,
A lot of range.
Don Rickles,
Wow.
John Mayer,
Wow.
and you're like sitting there, and I did a set, and I'm sitting next to, and then I don't know, like someone who started the movie industry. You know what I mean?
He's got Goldwyn Mayer.
And so Don Rickles was
Get
older.
Orson Welles here.
They walked over and they gave him a microphone, and he just started making fun of everyone, and it was just like
the best.
unbelievable.
I think Geraldo was an incredible roaster. I love it. I do think what you're saying is now with like the popularity of things like Roast Battle, a lot of those comics are like 2 years in.
Right.
And they don't have an act. They don't have a self-deprecating joke about themselves, but they've got 5 minutes on some dude they've never met.
Yeah.
And they're going up at the Comedy Store. So that, to me, that's like...
But I guess if it's writing, it is productive.
And it's a way to
right?
get in.
And for Greg, it was like the roasts were huge. So that was selling
They
tickets
were
on the road
huge.
for
And
his act.
he was, you know, I have this theory about Greg is that, what you have to understand is that, like, and this is my perspective completely, is that Greg Giraldo was brilliant. And I don't say that in a cute way. Like, he was a really smart guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he was like, his parents were both immigrants. He got into Regis.
Harvard Law,
Columbia, scholarship all the way. Worked for like the biggest law firm in the world. Gave it all up, to pursue stand-up.
He was so pure at this.
And what I think, the amount of failure and humiliation, he, I don't know, but like it almost was like it took its toll on him harder because he's like, all I do is win. And that was not his personality. His personality was not like, I win.
Right.
It was just the track record. Like, he could go into a club. He was engaging. He was not a sycophant. He had a confidence and a rapport, whether it was Long Island or the Upper East Side. He could connect with all these types of people. So like and I was there when he got his sitcom deal, and it's more of like how the level of cruelty the entertainment industry is. Mm-hmm. Like, he had an agent that was his agent that, plucked him out of, Montreal. And then within 2 years, he saw her at a restaurant and she acted like she didn't know him.
Damn.
Wow. And you're like, wow.
I got an agent out of Montreal, and he left the company after signing me 2 months later, and I didn't get an email.
Isn't that wild?
This is an ugly business. I mean, Greg, you talk about how brilliant he is, and you talk about the cruelty of this business, but like his humility was, that always struck me, is that like he could talk to anybody, and like I was like, man, that guy would have been a great late night host.
Oh my God.
I was like, when Jon Stewart leaves the Daily Show, who the hell is better than Greg Giraldo?
Well, by the way,
who is an unpretentious liberal, which is kind of like what liberals need right now.
Oh,
With all this woke bullshit, you need a guy like Greg who can
keep it real,
who can connect with both sides of the aisle. I mean, this is a guy who would crush in Cincinnati, in Kentucky, in Manhattan. Like that is necessary to, as an entertainer, but also as a human.
Yeah, no, he actually, he had so many pilots at Comedy Central that, he had a Friday night show.
You're better off having a pilot on Malaysian Airlines at this point.
But Comedy Central had more weight back then.
Oh, yeah.
No, I know.
But like there was also, so he really popped on Tough Crowd. I only did Tough Crowd twice, but like he really popped. And by the way, that was like one of those things where, like that combined with the roast, because the format of Tough Crowd was very much a roasting environment too. It was guys being guys kind of thing.
Ball busty.
Yeah. And so they canceled Tough Crowd. Then Comedy Central begged Greg to redo Tough Crowd.
Wow.
Without Colin.
Disgusting.
He asked Colin. Colin goes, fine. He got shit for it. So there was that didn't work. There was also a talk show that I wonder if I did a guest set on it.
But also, like, how fucked up is that?
There was
Greg's clearly looked up to Colin. We all look up to Colin,
Yeah.
And
I don't care for it. No.
But Greg clearly looked up to him. He's a guest on the show. Colin, and then you're like, step in and do the show. He's like, that's
just the stupidity of the business. And this is also like, he's probably got 2 kids. He's, they're like, do this. And we've done six deals with you 6 pilots. But there was a time when they were going to do another show. He was going to be the host of it. And they tested. And I'm like, this is it. Greg's on his way. And that was when the Daily Show was really peaking. and they were like, they're just gonna. And there was also a time when there was a power base in Comedy Central in LA and a power base in New York. And Greg was associated with the LA group, but the power base in New York was The Daily Show and I think Chappelle. And so the power base in LA had less influence, I think. And so they gave that time slot, which is, by the way, Comedy Central has so many time slots. They gave it to Stephen Colbert.
Ooh.
So it's like that close.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was a great show.
And that was a hit
Yeah.
and a great show. So yeah, you're right. It's tough, but it's so painful that you're like, you put in the work like Greg did. You're right there, and there is a cruelty in this business that like you do have to keep getting up from.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, Chappelle who was also
Phenom.
a phenom
Yeah.
and like would destroy on a kind of otherworld level, had sitcom after sitcom after sitcom that would fail. So it was very a weird thing. And I remember like, you know, Geraldo, he was like, I want to tour doing headlining. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just wanted to be a writer on Letterman.
Really?
So it's like,
When did that change for you?
I think I had done Welcome to New York, and then that experience was so horrible. Like, that's what's weird also about stand-up is you go on stage, you're essentially writer, director, producer, and then you get in these group settings.
Yep.
And you're like, people are like, that's good enough. You're like, but it's not.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't be difficult.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to do stand-up and try and get acting jobs. And I never got any acting jobs.
You're in a lot of
You're
stuff.
the Hemi guy.
I was not
gotta-
the Hemi guy.
Oh,
that
shit.
was
Damn it. But you got a ton
John
of commercials.
Reed. That was the other white fat guy.
Did that 70s show help you on the road when you were on that?
Yes.
Oh,
you were in
yeah.
a lot of- that's a good show.
I was very lucky because there was before when I was touring before Beyond the Pale, I had that 70s show. I had a Sex and the City thing, and I also had
That's right.
Wow. That was a big show.
what was the I can't remember.
You were on another show, My Boys, too.
My Boys, that was kind of after the thing.
Gotcha. But that 70s show was huge.
Yeah.
That 70s show was like, I don't know if you've been to a 4-camera shoot. It's one of the most boring things in the world. But people would come and hang out, like young Hollywood.
We were just talking about
Wow.
Kurtwood Smith and Deborah Jo Rupp and saying
Yeah.
how great they both are.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
It's
They
like
were-
insane how good they both are. They're
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah. And by the way, it's like, did you see her on WandaVision? Like, she's still going.
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't- I
She's in
haven't seen
everything.
that.
She was on
Yeah.
Seinfeld back in
Yeah.
I mean, she's a great character actor.
Yeah. And he was also,
He was in RoboCop.
yeah. Was he also in Beverly Hills Cop? Was that him?
I'm
Or
not
maybe it was somebody
sure.
else?
Maybe. He's
I don't
got
think he
that
was in
look.
the first one.
I don't know. He was, but he's been
Beverly
around
Hills Cop.
forever.
Yeah.
I rewatched recently, by the way. It's still so damn good. It's such a good movie.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Eddie Murphy,
What a talent.
like it's insane how talented he is. It's like there's the fame thing,
Yeah.
and there's like selling tickets, but like as an actor, like it is insane. Like I don't get like the clumps, no matter what you think of it.
Gold.
What he pulls off in that, you're
Amazing.
like, holy shit.
I've said on this podcast, I think he should have been nominated for an Oscar for Nutty Professor.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I love Eddie Murphy. I mean, Coming to America is to me the most
yeah.
impressive performance is Nutty Professor, just because like he's playing so many like full characters.
It's incredible.
Well, he's also like the level of empathy that he creates,
Yeah,
you know, because you know he's this guy with an ego, and he's here we are talking about that, but he embodies this guy that's
Likeable.
a miserable fat guy, and you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Right, yeah.
yeah.
I was just
know what I
watching. Have you seen that show on Netflix, The Movies That Made Us? And there's one on Coming to America, And they go into how Eddie Murphy couldn't get any airtime on SNL, and these two writers were like, this guy's good. We should write for him more. And they were trying to use him to get bigger, and he was using them to get bigger.
Wow.
And then they ended up writing Coming to America together.
Wow.
But it's incredible that I think the through line of this whole episode is the industry is clueless. The industry stinks. We got to come in and write jokes and do whatever, but
there's never been a better time, because, sure, it's diluted, but you can put shit on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and anything. So, like, thank God, man.
You can do all those things after you watch my special.
Dude, Comedy Monster on Netflix just came out. Norma's got a new special, too. You should watch both of them.
I mean, we're working. Sam's not doing anything.
I'm taking a break. I just went to a beach in upstate New York.
You're engaged. You got engaged. Congratulations. He got engaged to the Christian, and you're going to become a Christian now.
I'm going to be a Christian.
Finally.
Talking about... we're going to do a lot more Jesus talk on this pod. I think that's what's been missing here.
Yeah, you go, I'll go Jew. We'll mix it up.
You just want to be a Jew really badly.
Every comedian does.
Yeah.
Every comedian does.
I love that comedians like us.
Yes.
That's nice.
That's about it. But yeah.
Actually, the Christians in America are obsessed with Israel, so.
That's true.
Good point.
The far right loves Israel, man. They're like, that's their
thing. They really do. I heard guys got bombed recently in Israel. You see that?
No, that was on this podcast.
Hey,
all right.
Let me add, before we got to go, just to skew off comedy, you got 17 kids.
Yes.
I'm thinking about having a kid.
Yeah. What?
Well,
this is a bomb drop on the podcast.
Well, we're getting older, and who better to ask than the father of 9 here? What do you think? Is it horrible? Is it terrifying? Do you hate them? Do you want to kill them? Do you like abortion? Talk to me.
I think I recommend it.
Really?
I mean, it's really hard. By the way, I've got 5 of them, and
in Manhattan.
In Manhattan.
You're the most prolific comic, and you have more kids in special somehow.
No, I don't know about that.
No, you're more special. But it's close.
But it's I mean, it's taxing.
I mean, I hang out with my nieces
life
and nephews.
is filled with misery. You might.
This is a tough sales pitch for kids right here.
Does the joy outweigh the misery?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
I also believe that people need to do things to evolve. And I think that,
so you did it for the material.
Now I've become Jordan Peterson. I think you have to become a monster. You have to. I wish I could do his accent.
Me too. It's so high.
It's Toronto.
Yeah.
But I think it's a strange thing. It's
Seinfeld...
it does make you a better person.
Okay. But
I think
how about your
guys have a
comedy?
Selfishness.
Does it help your comedy?
I think so. I think also it's a very abundant universe. So there's also the fear factor.
Yes.
You're like, oh, got to make sure that this person's taken care of.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, look, I just did. I was just on vacation with my family, and we did Disney World, which I never want to do again, but I keep doing it every 2 years.
Dude, you're by the way, if you haven't seen Jim's Disney World chunk in Mr. Universe, cue that up too on Netflix, because that's one of my favorite specials ever. I mean,
thanks. And
you can write all that off.
But now I feel like, that's if you want to feel like the symptoms of COVID, just go to walk around Disney World for 10 hours. But I do think that
it's a sad sight over there.
What else are you going to do with your life?
True.
I mean, it's
you could just live it happily and fun.
Well, you don't have to get a pet either. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't have to travel to another country. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't have to create more material. You know what I mean?
Good point.
So
that's a good point.
I don't know. It's got to be the right person, to have the kid with.
Are they going to be? People wearing masks at Disney are goofy, and
that's a tweet.
Comedians are children. So is the person that you're going to have the kid with? Are they a non-child?
No.
You know what I mean?
She's wheelchair bound. But other than that,
she's not going anywhere. So that's good.
I got a broomstick in the wheel. But yeah. All right. I like that. But I hang with my nieces and nephews, and it's beautiful and it's great, but you get to leave. With the kid, you don't leave.
Is the road really hard with kids?
Or is it great? Great Tom Papa joke.
Oh yeah.
You know, he goes, "Well, you got 5 kids. Why? How do you go on the road? It must be miserable." He's like, "Yeah, the hardest part is trying not to whistle while I pack." Come on, that's a brilliant joke.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is something of why, not to sound like a piggish guy. That's why guys play golf.
Right.
They don't like golf. They just want to get out of the house.
Yeah. Totally. That's a Seinfeld joke. Get out, leave family.
It's
the golf.
So the
you're drinking while playing a sport
outside.
Yeah.
And so the
it is a sport, but you know what I mean.
Right, right.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And there's not a single kid that I would trade in. You know what I mean? But it is, look, it's scary. It's like you're like, you hope that the kid's okay. The news, the local news becomes really more important.
Whoa, wow.
Do you know what I mean? It's like this nomadic life that we lead. It's not like, putting a down payment on an apartment. It's like you're in.
You're in.
Yeah.
So
you can't flip it in the next 2 years.
You can't flip it, and you can't sit there and
tear it all down. We'll start again.
But it's part of growing up, I think. I don't know.
Well, Seinfeld has the famous thing of like, I don't want to have kids. I don't ever want to get married. And now he's like, if I didn't have kids, I'd be miserable. Blah blah blah.
Wow.
So Bill Burr, same thing.
I heard Jordan Peterson say the same thing.
Really?
Weirdly, yeah. I heard him say like that's like his meaning for like getting older. It's like his meaning for life. So
it kicks you into gear. I know, like Chris D had a kid. He was like, I gotta work. I gotta get out there. I gotta write more. Louis said the same thing. 2 kids. It makes you have to.
Then there's some comics who are like, I had a kid. I'm moving upstate New York.
That's true.
I'll do a road gig every 2 months, and you're like, all right, well, you're out. So
yeah.
So there's that fear too.
But I think you have to. That's where you have to be with the right person that gets who you are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that we are children.
Yeah. Yeah, we really are. I'm shit myself. All right, well, shit.
Well,
any closing?
This is the best episode of the show ever.
I think it is, man.
If you like
I want to
comedy.
thank you guys for
this
coming.
This is a classic.
Thanks for listening to the Geraldo podcast.
Watch Jim Gaffigan, Comedy Monster. He's got a bunch of other specials on Netflix. Seriously, one of our favorites. So appreciate you coming on.
He
man.
says that every week.
Coming up next, Will Sylvince, one of my favorite comics.
Oh my gosh, he's the best. Really, the best.
Any parting words? Any notes of advice? Any life hack? You got anything? Comedy better now or then? When you started,
the audience is better educated about stand-up,
more savvy. For
That's
sure.
great to hear.
But I've been hearing a lot more "Let's Go Brandons" in the audience, so I don't know how
I think it's the wittiest thing. You're like, you're doing "I'm Rick James" bitch, but it's
right.
it's the same. It's like
that's what she said.
Create your own fucking
comedy.
joke. It's the point,
Yeah.
But
all right, we did it. I got to go
we
nap.
did. Well, we
All
love
right.
you, Jim. Gigs you want to do?
Oh yeah, you got some dates?
Richmond, Baltimore, Hartford, Sacramento, Beacon Theater, New York. Please come out.
Oh wow, that's in May 9th.
That's
Wow.
I think
Is
it's
it
May
May 9th?
7th actually,
May
but
7th.
I appreciate
Pretty good. I didn't know
Toronto
that.
over. Oh yeah, it's almost full. So please keep moving it and
Milestone.
Yeah, and Toronto, all that bullshit. Columbus, Miami, Palm Beach.
Back to Miami?
Oh, not Miami. Fuck. Orlando. Thanks
same-
for catching that.
Same shit.
SamMorril.com/shows.
All right, I'm at Sacramento, La Jolla.
I love how you guys have this memorized.
Trying. Kansas City, Syracuse, Chicago, some other stuff. MarkNormanComedy.com. Check us out. Check out old episodes. Watch Jim's
Are you
special.
in Chicago when I'm in Chicago? Are you there in April?
March.
Oh, really? You can tell everyone. When you do press, mention my shows.
You got
Chicago
it.
in April.
Go just
sell those
follow
last
Jim on
couple.
every social. Follow him on Instagram, on every TikTok, everything, Twitter, and see him on tour.
Yes, the Hemi guy. One last time.
I'm not the Hemi guy. All right,
Thank you so
thanks,
much,
guys.
man.
Thank
Great
you.
out.
Thank you.